Hello students, how are you all? I think you are fit and fine at your home, isn't it? Myself, Dr. Pandurang Darekar, once again welcomes you to Tarangan. Today we are going to learn topic 3rd, Chemical Reactions and Equations from Science Part 1. In this topic, we will learn conventions in writing a chemical equation, then types of chemical reactions and balancing of a chemical reaction. Along with this, we will also learn the factors affecting chemical reactions, the process of corrosion and rancidity. So, let us begin the topic. Before starting the actual content of the topic, you should know the basics regarding physical change and chemical change. The table on the screen describes the difference between physical and chemical change. Let us see these points one by one. Physical changes are generally temporary. That means they are for short time. And these changes are mostly reversible. That means the forward and backward processes are possible in case of physical changes. The composition of matter remains the same. That means there is no new product forms. The original reactant or the original substance remains as it is. There is no formation of new product in case of physical changes. For example, melting of wax. On the other hand, if we see the characteristics of chemical changes, we will see that generally these chemical changes are permanent. And as they are permanent, these changes are mostly irreversible. The forward reaction is possible, but the backward reaction is generally not possible. As we see, the chemical change brings to the formation of new product. As the new product forms, the composition of the matter changes. And here the example is burning of wax. Let us try to understand why the melting of wax is a physical change and burning of wax is a chemical change. See, when the wax melts, only the state of wax changes from solid to liquid. The original substance remains same. There is no new composition forms. Also, this change is temporary. That means if you keep the molten wax into a refrigerator, or even if you keep that molten wax into room temperature, it again solidifies. So, this process is temporary. It also occurs reversibly. There is no formation of new substance. Hence, we can call melting of wax as a physical change. But on the other hand, in case of burning of wax, the wax burns in presence of oxygen and it forms carbon dioxide and water vapor. We cannot obtain the original wax once again from carbon dioxide and water vapor. So this change is permanent, it is not reversible, and as the formation of new product involves, we can call burning of wax as a chemical change. Can you find few more examples from your surroundings? Here I have brought some phenomena for you. Can you categorize these phenomena into physical or chemical change? Hurry up. We have seen that in chemical changes, the composition of matter changes. That means there is formation of new product. On the basis of this statement, we can form the definition of a chemical reaction. We can define the chemical reaction as it is the process in which the substance undergo bond breaking and these substances are transformed into new substances by formation of new bonds. Hence, in a chemical reaction, the old bonds between the substances are broken and new bonds are formed, forming the new products. The definition can be well justified with the help of a chemical reaction. On screen, you will see a chemical reaction in which a zinc rod is dipped into the solution of copper sulfate and it gives to zinc sulfate and free copper atoms. In this reaction, we can see that the sulfate ion was previously bonded with copper and the zinc was free. But as soon as the reaction occurs, the sulfate ion get bonded with zinc and the copper is set free. It involves the breaking of bond between copper and sulfate ion and forming of new bond between zinc and sulfate ion. Hence, we can say that the chemical reaction is occurred. On observing the chemical reaction carefully, we can recognize that on left hand side of the arrow, that means on left hand side of the reaction, there are substances which are taking part in the chemical reaction. Such substances which are involving in the chemical reaction are called as reactants. And on the right hand side of the reaction or arrow, there are the substances which are formed as the result of chemical reaction. They are formed by formation of new bonds in a chemical reaction. Such new substances are called as products. Now, after learning the definition of chemical reaction and its components, let us go to representation of a chemical reaction. The simple way of representing a chemical reaction in words is called as a word equation. For example, the reaction of copper sulfate and zinc. If the zinc rod is dipped into the solution of copper sulfate, the following reaction occurs. The reaction is summarized with the help of word equation as shown on the screen. The reaction is stated like that: the copper sulfate reacts with zinc metal to give zinc sulfate and copper. But the use of words while representing a chemical equation is not feasible all the times. Hence, we have to find the method in which we can write the chemical reaction in a condensed form. The way of writing a chemical reaction in condensed form using the chemical formulae and symbols is called as a chemical equation. The same reaction of copper sulfate and zinc can be written in condensed form with the help of chemical equation as shown on the screen. The method of writing chemical equation has some benefits, like it saves time and it is a precise method in which we can get to know the correct formulae or symbols of the metals, etc. We also come to know the specific conditions like proper temperature, pressure, or the presence of catalyst with the help of such short and precise representation. But writing the formulae and symbols only is not sufficient while writing a chemical equation. We should know some conventions while writing a chemical equations. The screen shows the convention in writing a chemical equation. These conventions will help us to make the chemical equation more meaningful. The first one is, in any chemical equation, the reactants are written on left hand side, while the products are written on the right hand side. The arrow between reactants and product indicates the direction of reaction. In majority of the reactions, the number of reactants or products is more than one. So, if the reactants or products are more than one or two, these reactants or products are represented with the help of plus sign between them. The example on the screen shows that the given reaction has two reactants. These two reactants are represented by using plus sign between them. On right hand side, the number of product is also 2. So these two products are shown with the help of plus sign between them. To make the reaction more meaningful, we will write the physical states of reactants as well as products. These physical states are represented by writing small g for gaseous state, small l for liquid state, and for solid state we will use small s. These states are written in brackets after writing the symbol or formulae of reactant and product. If the product is in gaseous state, then instead of writing G in bracket, we can also use the upward arrow to show the gaseous product. In some chemical reaction, the insoluble solid product is formed, which can be also called as precipitate. As the precipitate settles at the bottom of a test tube, we can show such precipitate with the help of a downward arrow. Sometimes the reaction involves the use of some water soluble reactants, or sometimes the water soluble products are formed. These water soluble products or reactants are indicated by writing AQ in bracket. The AQ stands for aqueous solution. It indicates that the substance is in dissolved state in water. By using such conventions, the screen shows you some reaction which are represented with the help of chemical equations. Let us go to few more conventions. The next convention is, while writing a chemical equation, we should also know the certain conditions at which the reaction is occurring. The certain conditions may involve the specific temperature, pressure, or the presence of catalyst. Such conditions are indicated either above or below of the arrow which is indicating the direction of reaction. And at last, we should not forget to write down the names of products as well as reactants below their formulae. The hydrogenation reaction on the screen shows you that the reaction occurs in presence of nickel catalyst and the reaction occurs at the temperature of 60 degrees Celsius. Can you recognize all these conventions while writing a chemical equations? Because you are not only expected to learn it, but it is expected that you have to use these conventions while writing a chemical equation. Now, let us go to the most important concept of balancing a chemical equation. It is said that the equation should be balanced. But what is the actual meaning of balancing a chemical equation? Whenever we balance any chemical equation, it is expected that the number of atoms on left hand side, that is on reactant side, must be equal to the number of atoms on right hand side, that is on product side. We are going to learn this concept of balancing of chemical reaction stepwise. The screen shows you some steps. Let us go through it one by one. A statement or word equation is given to you, and by using this statement or word equation, you have to prepare a chemical equation. And when the chemical equation is ready, you have to compare the number of atoms on right hand side as well as on left hand side. With the help of this step, you will come to know that which element has unequal number of atoms, and balancing of chemical equation can be started with the help of such elements only. Once the reaction is balanced, you have to confirm that whether the number of atoms on left hand side is equal to the number of atoms on right hand side. Once you confirm that the reaction is balanced, you can write the final balanced equation at the end of this process. Just look at one example. Nitrogen gas and hydrogen gas reacts to form ammonia. With the help of this statement, according to step 1, we have to write the chemical equation from the given statement or word equation. See, in step 1, we have written the chemical equation for the statement. N2, that means nitrogen gas, reacts with H2, that is hydrogen gas, reacts to form ammonia gas, that is NH3. Our step 1 is complete. Now let us go to the step 2. In step 2, we have to check whether the equation is balanced or not. How can we do it? Just compare the number of atoms on left hand side as well as on right hand side. We can do it in a tabular form. In the given table, you will notice that in this reaction only 2 elements are involved. And if you go through the number of atoms of these 2 elements on left as well as on right hand side, you will come to know that both the elements are having unequal number of atoms. So we can start the balancing of chemical equation from either nitrogen or hydrogen. I feel that it will be easier for us if we balance nitrogen element first. So to balance the number of atom of nitrogen element, we have to multiply the number of atoms on product hand side by 2. By doing this, the number of atoms of nitrogen on LHS and on RHS will be equal. With the help of this information, let us write the chemical equation once again, which shows that the number of atoms of nitrogen are equal on both sides. Just have a look on that chemical equation. By observing that chemical equation, you will come to know that the number of atoms of nitrogen are balanced, but still we have to balance the number of atoms of hydrogen. And to balance the number of hydrogen on both the sides, just have a look on which side the number of reactant of hydrogen are less in number. We will come to know that the number of atoms of hydrogen are less on reactant side. And if we look carefully, the number of atoms of hydrogen are 2 on reactant side and 6 on product side. To balance it, we have to multiply the number of atoms of hydrogen by 3 on reactant side. By doing this, the number of hydrogen on both the sides will get balanced. Once we confirm that the reaction is balanced, we have to write the final balanced equation at the end of this process, and we have to show that the number of atoms of both these elements on right hand side as well as on left hand side will be equal. I hope that you have understood the balancing of chemical equation. Now there is the time of activity. Two equations are given to you and you have to balance this chemical equation stepwise. Can you? We are moving to the next concept of types of chemical reaction. Here we have to classify the chemical reactions with the help of different criteria. And the first criteria considered here is the nature and number of reactants and products. Hence, with the help of nature and number of reactants and products, the chemical reactions are classified into four groups. These are combination reaction, decomposition reaction, displacement reaction, and double displacement reaction. Let us go to the first type, the combination reaction. In combination reaction, when two or more reactants combine to form a single product, the reaction is said to be combination reaction. Hence, here the number of reactants are two or more, but the number of product is only and only one. You can go through the example shown on the screen. If you look at the next type, the decomposition reaction, you will come to know that here in decomposition reaction, the number of reactant is only one and the number of product are two or more. With the help of this information, can you define the decomposition reaction? It's very simple. We will make it. See, the chemical reaction in which two or more products are formed from a single reactant. Or in other words, we can say that a single reactant splits into two or more products. Such reaction is called as decomposition reaction. Here, the reactant is alone, but the number of products are two or more. For your understanding, two examples are shown on the screen. Just go through it. The next type of reaction is displacement reaction. What do you think? Whether the meaning of displace and replace is same or different? What is mean by displacement? Displacement means moving or dislocating something. By taking the same meaning, we can define displacement reaction as the reaction in which the place of less reactive ion in a compound is taken by another more reactive ion by formation its own ion is called as displacement reaction. According to NCERT, CBSE textbooks, we can define displacement reaction as when an element displaces another element from its compound. The reaction is called as displacement reaction. By using these two definitions, we can make one more statement that the reaction in which less reactive ion is displaced by more reactive ion from its salt solution is called as displacement reaction. On screen, you may see three reactions. Consider the first one. In the first reaction, zinc is dipped into the solution of copper sulfate. When the reaction occurs, zinc is more reactive as compared to copper. So, it can displace copper from its salt solution. And the same thing occurs. When you see the product side, you may see that zinc has taken the place of copper and copper is set free. In second reaction, lead is treated with copper chloride. Here also, lead is more reactive as compared to copper, hence it can displace copper from its salt solution. In third reaction, iron is dipped into copper sulfate solution. Here also, as the copper is less reactive than iron, iron can replace copper from its salt solution. In this way, in displacement reaction, the less reactive ion is displaced by more reactive ion from its salt solution. Now we will go to the next type, double displacement reaction. Here, in such type of reaction, the ions in the reactants are exchanged and the precipitate is formed. Such reactions are called as double displacement reaction. So, the peculiar characteristic of such type of reaction is formation of precipitate. On screen, you may see that the sodium sulfate reacts with barium chloride. Here, the sodium ion and barium ion exchange their place. These ions are exchanged and the product side, if we see the barium sulfate which has downward arrow, it means that it is precipitate, and NaCl, that is sodium chloride, forms. As the precipitate forms and the exchange of ion takes place here, this reaction is an example of double displacement reaction. In this way, we have finished one criteria for classification of chemical reactions. Now we are moving to the next criteria. In this criteria, we are going to take the help of heat absorption and heat liberation. And with the help of this heat absorption and liberation, the chemical reactions are classified into two types. The one is exothermic reaction and another one is endothermic reaction. Let us focus on the first type, exothermic reaction. In such reaction, if heat is given out or liberated outside, such reactions are called as exothermic reactions. Let us try to understand with the help of example. If you try to dissolve sodium hydroxide in water, you may feel that the beaker gets heated. Why the beaker is getting heated? We have not provided the heat. We are not heating the beaker, but then also the beaker gets heated. The temperature of the solution changes. It increases. Why it occurs? The answer is that the heat is liberated during this reaction. So, such type of reactions in which heat is liberated or given outside are called as exothermic reaction. Here are few more examples of exothermic reactions. Try to understand the second example. The formation of ice from water. You may get surprised that how formation of ice from water is exothermic reaction. See, ice is present in solid state and its temperature is around 0 degrees Celsius, and water is present in liquid state. Definitely the temperature of this water is more than the temperature of ice. That means the heat content of liquid water is more as compared to ice. So, when liquid water needs to convert it into solid ice, the temperature must fall. And what is the meaning of falling temperature? When temperature of the water falls, water is exchanging heat with the surrounding. water gives out heat to the surrounding and then its temperature decreases. So, in this reaction, as liquid water loses heat, formation of ice from water is considered as exothermic reaction. Let's move to the next type, endothermic reaction. In endothermic reaction, the reactant or the substance absorbs heat from surrounding or from outside. Such reaction in which the heat is absorbed is called as endothermic reaction. For example, melting of ice. In melting of ice, the ice absorbs heat from surrounding. Because of absorption of heat, its temperature increases and it is converted into liquid water. Few more examples are dissolution of potassium nitrate or dissolution of ammonium nitrate or potassium chloride in water. In such reactions, when you dissolve these substances in water, the temperature of water falls. Why it falls? Because during this dissolution, the heat is absorbed from outside, that is from liquid water. In this way, we have finished second criteria 2. Now, we will go to third criteria, which involves utilization or liberation of oxygen or hydrogen. And based on this, the chemical reactions are again classified into two groups. The first one is oxidation reaction and second one is reduction reaction. Let's try to understand the first one, oxidation reaction. In oxidation reaction, the reactant accepts oxygen, and as it accepts oxygen, it forms its oxide. Such reactions are called as oxidation reaction. For example, if you take a ribbon of magnesium metal and if you put it on a spirit lamp, in presence of oxygen, it catches fire, it burns, and after burning, it produces magnesium oxide. As magnesium accepts oxygen and forms its oxide, this reaction is called as oxidation reaction. We have one more definition of oxidation reaction, and according to this definition, the reaction in which reactant loses hydrogen, the reaction is called as oxidation reaction. On screen, you are seeing one example. MgH2 splits into Mg and H2. See, on reactant side, magnesium was bonded with hydrogen, but after reaction, on product hand side, you may see that magnesium is separated from hydrogen. That means it has lost hydrogen, and the reaction in which the reactant loses hydrogen is called as oxidation reaction. So, according to this definition, the reaction is called as oxidation reaction. See, one more definition in which we are considering the valency of ion or atoms. In this definition, the oxidation means losing one or more electrons. When an ion or atom loses one or more electron and gets converted into positive ion, then the reaction is said to be oxidation reaction. So, according to this criteria, either the positive charge is developed or the positive charge is increased. If these two phenomena occurs, the reaction is called as oxidation reaction. One thing you have to note that the third definition we have considered with respect to metals. Now we'll focus on the next type, that is reduction reaction. In reduction reaction, the reactant loses oxygen. So, the reactions in which the reactant loses oxygen is called as reduction reaction. On screen, you may see that CuO is reacting with hydrogen to form Cu and H2O. On left hand side, that is on reactant side or before reaction, you might have seen that copper was bonded with oxygen. But after reaction, when the reaction completes, at that time the copper has separated from oxygen. So we can call that the oxide of copper is get reduced. It undergoes reduction reaction. We have one more definition, and according to this definition, when the reactant accepts or gains hydrogen, the reaction is said to be reduction reaction. See the second reaction in which hydrogen is reacting with fluorine. In this combination reaction, hydrogen combines with fluorine and form hydrogen fluoride. As fluorine accepts hydrogen, this reaction is said to be reduction reaction. According to the third definition, the valency or the charge is considered while defining the reduction reaction. According to this definition, the reduction reaction means gaining one or more electrons. See, when an ion or atom gains electron, either positive charge decreases or negative charge increases. See, on screen, the ferric ion, which has valency 3 plus, is accepting one electron, and as it accepts one electron, one positive charge decreases and the final charge on ferrous ion will be Fe2 plus. Here, because of accepting one electron, the positive charge is decreased. So, such type of reaction is also called as reduction reaction. I think you have understood the oxidation and reduction reaction. But there are some cases or there are some reactions in which oxidation and reduction reactions are taking place simultaneously. How can we define such reactions? Let us go to the next type in which the oxidation and reduction reactions are taking place simultaneously. Or in the given chemical reaction, if one reactant is getting oxidized and other is getting reduced, the reactions are called as redox reaction. If we split this word redox, it can be splitted as red plus ox. Red stands for reduction and OX stands for oxidation. In redox reaction, the oxidation as well as reduction is taking place simultaneously. So, such type of reactions are called to be as redox reaction. See, on screen, CuO plus H2. In this reaction, CuO after the reaction is converted into Cu and hydrogen is converted into H2O. That means copper oxide has lost oxygen. As it losing oxygen, it is getting reduced. On the other hand, hydrogen is accepting oxygen and is forming water molecule. So, it is getting oxidized because it is accepting oxygen. Here, oxidation and reduction reaction are taking place simultaneously. The reaction is said to be redox reaction. Few more examples of redox reaction are shown here. You can go through it. And you can also tell that which reactant is getting oxidized and which one is getting reduced. Can you? Now we are at the end of the topic. We are going to learn rancidity now. What is mean by rancidity? Before going to the actual definition, you might have experienced that the fried or oily substances, if they are stored for longer time, their taste and odor changes. They may get foul odor or bad taste. Why these things are happening? If the cooked food contains oil and if it is stored for longer period of time, it undergoes air oxidation. And because of this oxidation, its odor as well as taste changes. This process of oxidation of fried food or oily substances is called as rancidity. And the substance is called as rancid. How can we prevent rancidity? We can prevent rancidity with the help of antioxidants. You might have seen that the fryams like kurkure, chips, they are stored with nitrogen gas. Why the company is removing air from the air packets, and instead of air, why the food is packed with nitrogen? Have you ever think? Nitrogen is used during packing to prevent air oxidation of food. And if you try to prevent air oxidation, the fried food can be stored for longer period of time. In this way, by the use of antioxidant, we can stop or we can prevent, or we can say that we can prolong the process of air oxidation and rancidity. I hope that you have well understood the topic. Do visit Tarangan to learn the science easy. If you like this video, please do like, share, and don't forget to subscribe.